Hey guys, Blonde Asino or Toxicaster here, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about what Astromons you should be aiming for. Obviously, going toward the more farmable units in this case. Obviously, there are a lot more Nat 4s and stuff that could be a lot better for you to have. For example, if you have Nat 5s, you're more than likely going to want to train those up rather than training these like different like Nat 3 units up and such. But in general, because I've noticed a lot that a lot of you guys are more new on the more newer scale of players, not necessarily like older players. So I really want to try to like help you guys out a little bit because I know that especially the Reddit tier list that we have out right now is pretty confusing. So I just want to help you guys out a little bit with what units I would train if I was in your position. For this one, I'm actually going to go into the Astro Guide. We're going to like go through some of the units that are very, very useful at this point in time. Now, I'd like to note when I say that you should be aiming to get these units, I'm not saying that you should be 6-starring all of them, obviously, because you should have different priorities on 6 stars and stuff. I can make another video on that if it's requested. I actually just might do that. I probably will do that, to be honest. That seems like a good topic, but I'm going to be more focused on I would say getting all these monsters to level 50 would be a great goal to set for yourself as a newer player and should get you like a decent, and that should be able to get you a decent portion into the game, probably up to like completing the entire campaign and autoing B up to like probably B9 golems. I'd say you can do with all 50s, maybe even a little more. Anyways, let's get right into the video. So I'm going to start with the fire monsters first. Let's see. The first fire monsters that I would recommend is where is it? I can't find it. Where is he? He's right here. Candling. Fire Candling. Fire Candling is an amazing unit with he's an attacker type, defense down on 60, and defense down on 60 on both his 3 and his 5-star skills. He is a farmable unit, very easy to evo 3, and this just makes him like a very, very good unit for the early game. Super helpful for B9 golems. He will actually be in my B9 golems guide, just as a little preface right there. But overall, he's a really solid unit. His variant skill is also pretty good if you're deciding to go with crit builds. But I really wouldn't go with any crit builds in the early game, as it's not exactly. You really need good gems to make crit builds worth it, since you actually do need to get a pretty decently high crit rate. Anyways, the second fire monster I would say to build is this is not necessarily something that you have to build, and this is a very niche unit, unlike Candling, because, for example, Candling you can use in a lot of different places, but I would actually say Fire Breath could be a decent choice. Fire Breath, again, very easily Evo 3'd. You just need to actually get the first Fire Breath from a pull or a random egg. But Fire Breath actually has Wood Predator on both of its skills, which means that against something like B9 Golems, it'll be largely effective against that because you'll be able to just do a ton of damage to the wood units. But yeah, its leader skill isn't good at all. Pretty much Beth is just 30 defense in Acheron League. You're never going to use Beth anywhere outside of Golem dungeons, Titans, and you could probably use it in Dragons, honestly. But outside of that, you're never gonna really use this unit because it's so niche with its skill set. I mean, it is balanced, so the Fire Breath actually does the most damage out of all the Beths, but you're only going to be able to use it against mono element dungeons, which makes it a little bit limited. But I would still say it's worth training to 50 just because B9 Golems is a really big threshold to cross. Because B7 Golems compared to B8 and B9 is much easier to complete. So I'd say that training up a Fire Breath for B9 Golems is going to be really, really helpful for most players. Alright, that about does it for the fire units. Honestly, there aren't too many fire units, which is another reason that I would say that Beth is a great choice. There aren't too many fire units that are like too good that are below Nat 4s and 5s. Obviously, for Nat 4s and 5s, they're different. But there is actually I don't know if I would consider this a farmable unit because it's a largely RNG, but obviously I'd say Stormbeak's another great unit. Kind of the same reason as Candling. It's just pretty much a stronger version of Candling, except it does have the attack down on the 5-star. But yeah, if you can manage to get out of all the 3 Bolt Wings, I would say building a Firebolt Wing is the way that I would go with that, just because of how useful it is. I actually have one that's at level 60 right now, and a little bit of a sidebar. I've gotten super lucky with legendaries this week. I already caught 4 more, so I'm halfway to my second Bolt Wing, which will probably be used for fusion if I decide to do it. I don't think I'm gonna go for like a different type or anything. Anyways, to move on to the water units now, we're going to go scroll down right here. Alright, to start with the water units, I'd say that the first water unit that you really want to focus on is the Water Siren. The Water Siren is really good. It'll help you just pass that B6 Golems threshold if you haven't beaten that yet. It'll also help you as a great base healer, as its skills are really nice to give it some base tankiness with its 3-star skill, as well as even give it even more healing with its 5-star skill. So it's just an overall like a really massive healer that can help you in a lot of areas. For example, I know a lot of lower players use her in PvP. She's also very good for story if you can get her to a high enough level where she won't like die pretty quickly. But eventually she does actually like run out of usage, so she's definitely not a unit that I would recommend 6-starring. But overall, I would say that Water Siren is a great unit to have for the early game and even a little bit into the mid game. Alright, now I know that Water Breath is right here, but I'm actually going to not talk about why you should, but why you shouldn't decide to use Water Breath. And this is because out of Golems B7, B8, and B9, none of them are fire. Golems B1 and 6 are fires actually, and those ones aren't too hard. And the reason I said Fire Breath and the reason I'm going to say Wood Breath is because I feel like the Beths aren't really. You shouldn't only build a Beth just for like dragons and titans, especially since this is more of an early game guide. I think that the Golems usage is what makes really the Beths shine, but Water Breath isn't really going to necessarily be as useful as a Wood and a Fire Breath, so I'm actually going to leave her out of the why you should build them. However, if you're late game, then I mean, by all means, go ahead and build her. The next unit, this is slightly farmable. I would say Water Monkiki is a great unit, but he's only good because he's a defender. So if you really need a tankier unit, if you need a tankier unit for a defense downer, like if you don't have as good of gems, then I would definitely recommend going the Water Monkiki over the more obvious counterpart, which would be Water Shelly, which has a 100% defense down. But the only problem is Water Shelly is an attacker. Now, there is a little bit of a problem right here, is that these units are only farmable once you get over to the 3rd continent, which means you need to beat Extreme Mode, which a lot of players do struggle with, especially the newer players. So while I would say that these two are kind of equal depending on what you want and depending on where the game you are. Obviously, if you have better gems, I would go for the Water Shelly. But if you have a little bit of worse gems, you need that extra bit of survivability from the typings, I would say definitely Water Monkiki is the way to go for you. Neither are like bad. Obviously, they have their set uses, whether you need a tank or a more like DPS heavy unit, and you really want that extra 20% on the defense down. But these, again, are like for a little bit later in the game. So as a different idea, I would say Water Lat is actually a great unit to put in. Water Lat has a 60% defense down and a 60% attack down. And basically, Water Lat is so good because not only is she a tank, not only do you get her for free, and not only is she the most easily Evo 3'd, as in Mirage Ruins you can capture a 2-star Woodlat, but her leader skill is also attack in the Astronaut League, which can help you farm up some quick gems each week and get you a lot higher based on your attack ranking. Now, Water Lat is going to be very, very useful for something like B7 Golems, even B8 Golems she could be used in. And overall, I feel like Water Lat is just one of the stronger units that you can get for free. And it's just an overall... I don't know if it's a he or a she. I'm going to say I'm gonna go with she because I don't know. This kind of looks like a girl to me. Is that weird? Anyways, she is a very good investment, especially for the more early game players, as debuffs are very useful, and you should definitely start training them early. I don't know. I don't think I would get water lat to 60. Definitely to 50 though. However, the water Shelly I would definitely get to 60. Moving on. I don't know if you guys have what's it called? Sorry, the water Gatito. If you were playing during the Gatito event, definitely water Gatito all the way to 60. Water Gatito is a great unit. We're lacking a lot of attack downers in this game right now, so Water Gatito makes it so that Water Gatito is one of the only 100% attack downers. I think the only other one is Dark Leo, which I was fortunate enough to pull from one of my golden eggs. But yeah, Water Gatito is another great unit that's very useful and versatile, not only in Titans but also in Golems, Dragons, even in PvP. I would say you can use him a little bit. But yeah, he's definitely worth raising as well if you have him. Obviously, if you don't have him, then what are you gonna do? Next up, to go to the wood units, I'm actually gonna go back to saying one more thing. Wood Anu is the Anu that I would build if you're going to build one. Obviously, it is farmable. It is very rare, so don't expect to get an Evo 3 one very quickly. But out of all the three Anus, I would say Wood Anu is the way to go. It has great skills. It has Hunter on both of them. It will take some time to ramp up his crit rate and to get like a good ruin set on him if that's the set that you want to go for over intuition, which personally I would. But once you do, he's definitely the best Anu out of all three. A misconception, in my opinion, is that Boltwing is a great investment. I think that Boltwing is actually very underwhelming. I mean, you can use a wood Boltwing, but yeah, I personally wouldn't recommend it. It's not like a horrible unit. It's just not an ideal unit in my opinion. Anyways, to move back down to the 3 stars, we have first off Woodphibian. Woodphibian is like a better version of the Fire Candling, but the only problem is, once again, you do need to be on the last continent. So I would say it's kind of the same deal as a Water Monkiki pretty much, because it has the 80%, but it does have a 60% on the 5-star skill. And I believe the 5-star skill is it single target? Oh, it is. It's AoE. That's even better then. But this one is only 1 turn, so you have to be a little bit careful. But I definitely think it's still worth raising up. The second unit is, of course, Wood Gatito. If you have him, once again, I do have one. So I trained him to 60, I believe. He is 60. Yeah, Wood Gatito, self-explanatory. Same thing as Water Shelly. 100% defense down is great, honestly. Anyways, to move on, I would say Wood Kokomaru is a pretty good investment. Now, this kind of seems a little bit weird, as his skills aren't really that useful in a way. Like, they look really bad on paper, and I know that like they seem very bad, and like it's like, why would I ever build this unit? But in my opinion, Wood Kokomaru, with my experience, because I have one at level 60 right now, he can be pretty good. He can be pretty good, especially with his leader skill, where it's 30 to 35% for each Astromon. You can easily over Evo 3 him, and this guy should be enough to power you through B7 Golems. If you haven't seen my guide yet, go check it out on my YouTube channel. You should be able to, and that kind of goes into more depth on why Wood Kokomaru is great for B7. Another monster I might invest in is Wood Seedler. Wood Seedler is farmable in Mirage Ruins. It has sap, 60% sap for 2 turns, 2 types of sap damage for 1 turn on the 3-star, and the 5-star is 40% for 2 turns of sap. This is just a great sapper overall. Eventually you will need a sap team for whether it's you want to beat the Tower of Chaos 55, or you want to beat the Water Elemental Dungeon, which is most efficiently done with sap. If I recall, I'm pretty sure that's the most efficient way, especially for newer players. You're gonna need a sapper, and Wood Seedler is probably the best farmable sapper out there. Water Miho is okay, but it's honestly not that good in my opinion, just because of its typing. Anyways, next to move on, the Miho that I would build out of all of them is Wood. And that is because, obviously, we see, again, 60% defense down for 2 turns, and an AoE stun, which can help with auto-battling as well. Wood Miho is just a solid unit. She even has that resistance lead, so you don't have to worry about petrifications in the Golem dungeons and such. Overall, just like she's a solid unit. She's an attacker, which kind of takes away from her utility stuff from her defense down and her stun. But you can just go attack, HP, defense, and it should be all fine. The next unit I would raise is Woodbeth. Same reasoning as Firebeth. You have her for you have Beth for Wood 7 Golems. For B7 Golems, pretty dang good unit. If I do say so myself, I have one at level 60, mostly for Titan since I like the Water Titan. But yeah, Woodbeth is going to be pretty solid for going through a lot of the campaign against mono element dungeons. Next up we have, and last up actually, we do have the Wood Mona. The Wood Mona has actually fallen out of the meta quite a bit as players are kind of finding out that there are alternatives. But she's still a staple monster if you want to have like a safe B7 team. It won't be as fast. You obviously want to exchange her out afterwards for something like more damage heavy, for example, like a Wood Kokomaru or a Woodbeth. But Wood Mona, a lot of people's Wood Monas that I've seen have actually been able to like solo the boss from like 50% HP or something like that by itself, which obviously is like a great like asset to have. But it does make your runs a lot slower since she doesn't really do much damage or provide any sort of debuffs or anything, which is a little bit unfortunate. Anyways, I don't think I'm going to do light and dark units, I guess. Oh, wait, there is actually one more unit. Sorry, there is one more unit. I forgot, it's a Nat 2, actually. That's because it's Wood Mushi. Wood Mushi, I mean, after they buffed him, this thing's insane. 100% chance to restore 100% of SP bar on the 3-star skill. And a 5-star increases critical hit damage by 50%. Basically, you just build this guy crit. He does tons of, he gets a full SP bar every turn, and he does a single target hunter, which is ridiculous for like water dungeon, even wood dungeon. I might put him in a B9 thing. I have 3 of these guys that are 6 stars, so like he's definitely a great unit to build. And I think that wraps it up because I don't really want to talk about the only unit I would talk about for here, because obviously for the light dark units, the only way to get them is from light dark eggs. The only unit I would really talk about here is the light Kilobat or the light ghost. Light Kilobat, just another attack downer. It has 100% for 1 turn and defense downer 60%. You can build him if you're struggling with some runs, but he's kind of also fallen out of the meta. You can still use him in like B10 golems if you get him to 60, but even that's not so efficient. And then the light ghost is only useful for the 100% stun, which is only good for Tower of Chaos. So if you're looking to try to beat some of those annoying Tower of Chaos stages, you can use light ghost. But I believe that actually wraps this up. So those are all the units that I would say that are worth training for newer players. I'd say that sure, you could train some other Nat 2s, and definitely there are Nat 4s that are better. Like, don't get me wrong, like these aren't like, I'm not saying like, oh, a Wood Kokomaru is better than a Wood Banshee or something like that. But I'd say they're definitely worth investing into as like, if you need wood monsters, those are the ones that I would go to. Like if you don't have any good wood Nat 4s or something like that. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope this helps you guys out, especially you newer players. And I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace out.